Well, hey, for everybody watching live, thank you for joining us today. I'm joined with some special friends today, members of Straight No Chaser, along with David Britz from Works Entertainment. So everybody say hi to everybody.
Hi, everybody.
Hi.
Welcome.
It's fun to be here, Andy. When we saw you were doing these, and obviously we've started doing these as well, and the idea that we could all get together and taste some of your awesome wine and talk about it is a lot of fun for us. So thanks for having us and allowing us to be a part of this.
Absolutely. Well, when I saw Segi post that you guys were doing this, and I think it was the same day I had done my first one, I was like, oh, how fun. We need to collaborate on this. And the fun thing is that a lot of my customers and guests and friends will hopefully become your fans as well. They're hard to believe. Maybe some people out there are not familiar with Straight No Chaser. Dave or Segi, you guys want to give a rundown of how you guys came to be Straight No Chaser?
Go ahead, Seg.
So, long story short, group started back in 1996 at Indiana University. It was born out of a campus show choir called the Singing Hoosiers, basically to sing some more contemporary music, meet some girls, have some drinks, so as most things do in college. And after college, the original members left the group at the university as a legacy group, and that continues on still to this day. And back in 2006, we had the 10-year reunion of Straight No Chaser back at IU, where Randy had put up some videos on YouTube just for us to kind of reminisce and poke fun at each other for how much weight we've gained or hair we've lost and all that fun stuff. And one of the videos of us singing the 12 Days of Christmas caught fire and went viral. And we ended up getting signed to Atlantic Records and have since started our own label, S&C Records, and have been touring and recording ever since.
Okay, so you guys, we have people joining us from Louisiana, Columbus, Ohio, Chicago, a couple of Chicagos. So
all right.
Nice.
And for everybody watching, the disembodied voice, that's my wife, Paula. She's going to be reading your comments and questions as they come in today. So jumping on the wine? Uh-oh, I see an empty glass.
Shall we
Let me
pour?
go get my straw.
Dave started early. We have our 2014 Cabernet Franc. Now, this is a unique label to us because normally our label is a cream-colored background. But I thought it'd be fun to kick off with something that, well, normally you can't find our wines in any grocery store. But this wine is actually only available from us if you're a wine club member, and then for a limited time after its initial release to the club. Cabernet Franc, you guys had much of it before? It's not as common a varietal from Napa as Cabernet Sauvignon.
I really like the Cab Francs. I haven't had a whole lot of it. It's hard to find a good just Cab Franc by itself. Normally, obviously, it's blended, but it's kind of a little bit lighter Cab Sauv, right?
Well, Andy, tell me a little bit about the production on this. You guys only do 423 cases, so it's limited production. Tell me a little bit about that.
Sure. Well, so we actually, as Dave said, we started doing Cabernet Franc to create our proprietary blend Dedication. And so we've been growing Cabernet Franc here since 2003. And as those vines came to maturity, I realized that, wait, this is really starting to show on its own as a varietal. And I've always enjoyed having something fun to send out to club members, to special customers who've been longtime loyal fans, to give them something a little extra that they can't find anywhere else. Mm-hmm. So we keep the production in this small. We have to keep it small. We only have about 3 acres of Cabernet Franc, and the majority of that goes into creating Dedication as a blend, which we'll be tasting 2013 Dedication together on Friday.
All right.
So I think the Cab Franc is actually it's actually the first wine I purchased from you after my wife and I came and visited your incredible vineyard and beautiful tasting room. The views from your tasting room are pretty hard to beat. But I think this was actually the first wine that I took home, and obviously since then have loaded up on the cab and the dedication and the gate block and the Chardonnay as well. So a little bit of everything.
Yeah. Well, and it's kind of fun how the A to B to C. I don't really want to talk about the wine, but David may know this, but how I got to know Segi was actually, I was down in Sarasota, Florida for a wine event, and there was a jazz festival going on at the same time. And I was presenting wine in a a wine shop, and this guy walks by, kind of does a side glance at us. You guys drinking wine in the middle of the day? And I looked back and said, yes, we are, Brian. You want to join us? And that's how Brian Culbertson and I met. And he introduced me to Luke, and we did a few things for Napa Valley Jazz Getaway. And then I don't know if it was Luke or David, when Segi was looking to do a wine tour, said, come on up to, you should go check out Schweiger.
That was David. Yeah.
Yeah, that is how it happened. And, and we also knew that, you're a musician yourself and you're passionate about music and the arts. And, it seemed to be a good fit to introduce, our clients to your wine. And, obviously, we've got several folks that are passionate about wine, and, you being passionate about music, there was some natural synergy there.
Yeah.
So it's a high compliment because David's kind of a wine snob, and he definitely wouldn't have sent me there if he didn't think a wine was good. So that's a really nice vote of confidence.
Well, that was funny. When we started Brian's event, that was the thing. It was like, we're not going to bring anybody on to do to be a part of the event if we don't like their wine. Literally, there was people that we just didn't invite because we didn't like the wine. And
who was that?
I'll leave that out.
I'm just kidding.
But I think it's a compliment, one, to your wine and to you. But I think that there's so many high quality producers in the Valley, and I think, Andy, you can speak to this as well. A little aside, with there being 700 plus working wineries just in the Napa Valley alone. And correct me on that number, but
it's hard to keep track because there's fewer and fewer wineries like me where we actually grow our own fruit, make the wine ourselves, and bottle it. Today, there's a lot of virtual wineries out there that may not grow fruit. They may not even have a facility. Bricks and mortar estate bottle programs, there's probably about 300, but there's new brands popping up every day. But yeah, there's a lot of wineries for you guys to pick and choose from. So I'm honored to be included in that, as well as doing this with you today.
Yeah. And I think that's the fun thing, is the discovery of it. And, Andy, I know you enjoy this as well, even as a winemaker and having your own brand and promoting your own brand, as you love discovering wines as well. And, that's sort of why we all started doing this is, we love wines. We love to talk about wines. We love discovering wines, and, we sort of
drinking them
and sort of figured if we like doing it, I'm sure other people do as well. And, it gives us an excuse to sit around and talk to each other and talk to winemakers like you about the process and about the wine. This sounds a little weird sometimes when I say it, but I truly believe it. It is the art you can drink, and I stole that from someone, but it's artisan, it's craft, and it's something that, that you're able to drink and be a part of. And I'm just fascinated by that.
Well, hey, and for all of you watching from home, if you have the 14 Cabernet Franc in your cellar, hopefully by now you've pulled it out and pulled the cork and smell and taste along with us. Now, I've got my own basis or my own bias of what these wines smell and taste like. So I'd love to hear from you guys what you're smelling and what you're tasting.
I get big cherry just right away. I think that's the nature of the beast with this one.
Smelling some dates.
Yeah. I'm definitely getting the cherry.
Some herbal notes in there, maybe something a little spicy.
Mm-hmm.
I love to often point out that it's kind of like an herb de Provence. Early on in our
Mm-hmm.
journey in wine, my wife and I used to find ourselves going this. We still do probably 2 or 3 times a year. We'll run to the spice drawer and pull something out and say, "Wait, what's that smell like? No, that's not it. No, that's not it."
Yeah,
So we have a question. How close is the 2014 to the 2015?
That would be a year. That's my time.
Dougie, are you going to jump off now?
Well, with these wines being a state bottle, it's coming from the same source every year, same growers, same winemakers. So they're going to have their similarities, but I'm trying to make it expressive of the varietal and of that vintage. So sometimes I do them as 100% Cabernet Francs, sometimes not. Actually, I was looking this up before we started because I want this to be, I'm not trying to make this be a baby Cabernet Sauvignon. I want this to be different. Cabernet Franc is actually the parent of Cabernet Sauvignon. Cab Sauv is a crossing of, Cabernet Sauvignon is a crossing of Cabernet Franc with Sauvignon Blanc. But I do want them to have that softer, rounder aroma and mouthfeel. So there is going to be similarities between the 15 and the 14, but the 14, as Segi astutely pointed out, it's a year. But the 14 is going to be a year more approachable, a year, in my opinion, even more enjoyable.
What are the ideal conditions and I guess growing location or your planting location for this grape specifically?
Well, Franc can throw, excuse me, Franc can throw a very heavy crop. And so we have to actually be very careful to keep that crop thinned because as the season progresses and the fruit starts to ripen, it will actually produce more fruit than it can actually bring the full ripeness. So if we're not careful, the leaves will start to yellow, turn red. Sidebar here on that. Well, I'll come back to the leaves turning red. But the vine will actually start to shut down unless you really restrict the amount of fruit. Now you contrast that with Malbec, which we grow in the same block, but further down where it's cooler and more sheltered. Malbec can be a heartbreak grape where there's some vintages where we get a good crop, and there's some vintages where I feel like, okay, we're not sending out a picking crew, we're sending out a search party. There's almost no, you'll have like 2 clusters on the vine, and each cluster will have 3 or 4 berries. Now, the other thing I mentioned, the red leaves, Cabernet Franc, you'll see pictures of vineyards in the fall where the leaves have gone red. And very rarely do you want to see those red leaves. That's usually a sign of disease. Ideally, as farmers, we want to see those leaves go from green to yellow to brown to gone. Cabernet Franc is a unique thing where its leaves will turn red and it looks symptomatically like leaf roll virus. But unless you do DNA testing, you can't tell if it's leaf roll virus or just the fact that it's Cabernet Franc.
So go ahead, Paula. Sorry about that.
That's okay. So James had a question and he wanted to know, is the herbal essence from the terroir or the varietal?
Typically it's varietally driven. And I'm careful when we're blending it together with other varietals. Franc can be very soft on the finish. So this particular vintage, 2014, is 84% Cab Franc and 16% Cabernet Sauvignon. And if I get too much Cab Sauv or another varietal in there, you're going to lose that herbaceousness. And there's a fine line between green herbaceousness, fresh cut bell pepper or asparagus, and what I'm looking for more the dried herb notes. I very intentionally last night made chicken Parmesan for, if you're a fan of Alton Brown, he made an amazing, has an amazing chicken parm recipe. If you just Google Alton Brown chicken parm, relatively simple to make, a little time intensive, but amazing.
I actually made chicken Parmesan last night too, Andy. I forgot to tell you that.
I mean, with this, I would definitely go with like a hearty meat sauce, like a spicy Italian sausage in a nice red sauce with pasta. That's what I really like salivating for as I sip on this right now.
What I literally just had. We had
really?
Yeah, we had spaghetti squash. I had a arrabbiata sauce and added some veggies. But I love the tannins in this wine. These are definitely heavier than any of the wines we've done so far in our previous 3 episodes. And I think that's what drew me to this wine initially when I was first at the vineyard. I love the way that as soon as you take that sip and then you swallow it, the wine lets you know kind of who's boss in the situation.
Yeah.
But as you were saying, Andy, it's got that softer finish that you wouldn't see with a cab. You know, the cab is going to let you know it's boss for the long haul. This guy is just letting you know, like, hey, I'm here right now, but you'll miss me as soon as I'm gone, kind of thing.
I'm getting
definitely. Go ahead, Bruce.
I was just going to say, I'm getting on the nose some baking spice. That's sort of the vibe that I'm getting. And then for me, on the mouthfeel, really mid palate for me is where I'm getting a lot of the flavor. Not front, not back. Really mid palate is where I'm getting a lot of the flavor of the wine, which is cool. I mean, it's I really, really like this, and I know I've had it before, but it's been a minute. It's a really, really good wine.
It finishes making me want to have another sip, right?
Yes.
It finishes just a little bit of that acidity, and then sort of a mouth-watery, ready for another sip.
And what's the alcohol in this? Andy, do you know off the top what it is?
Yeah, it's on the side.
13.6.
13.6.
Okay. I mean, no burn on it. It's smooth.
Yeah.
It's exactly the way you want it to be.
Again, in tradition with the wines we've been doing already, really easy to drink. So could get dangerous real fast.
Yeah.
especially because Jamie told me to save her some, and I don't know if that's going to happen.
So Andy, we had another question about drip. Do you use drip irrigation?
So
me personally,
Yeah, you, Siggy.
Yeah, backstage between songs, drip or squirt, squeeze bottle. So if you visit Schweiger vineyards, you will see drip hose in all the vineyard rows. You'll actually see there's 2 drip hoses across all the vineyard rows. However, we do dry farm. Well, then what's up with the drip hose? We have the 2-line system. One goes to every plant, and that is in case of a heat wave or a severe drought year. 2017, September 1st and 2nd, we hit, I think, a daytime high of 108 and 109 degrees. So yeah, you bet we turned the water on those days. The second line in drip hose, we periodically have to plant new vines. Vines will die either because of disease or overstress or age or tractor blight. And so we'll have drip hose just with emitters for those baby vines that are being replanted.
So a question for you, Andy, what process in the entire winemaking process, I would say, which is the most difficult? And that can mean, nerve-wracking, whether it comes to weather patterns and obviously being in California now with the wildfires and the droughts. What part of the process kind of keeps you up at night thinking, how's this going to turn out?
What keeps me up at night? I bet Paula can answer this.
Bottling.
Yep.
Bottling.
Bottling. There's only so much that we can control. And I think you have to learn to accept that, okay, weather's going to shift. Fires happen. There's nothing I can do to control that. So we adapt, we adjust, we move on, we plan, we make new plans. Bottling, I've got a truck here for 3 or 4 days. Having my own bottling equipment would be cost prohibitive. So there's mobile bottling lines that come on the property, and it's my truck for the time that it's here. And if I run out of time, they've got somebody else contracted and it's time for that to go. So I have to, first off, the most important, make sure the wine is bottle ready. But then I have to make sure I have all the glass, I have all the labels, I have all the capsules, and that they're sized properly. Make sure I have all the corks, make sure I have labor here and that the labor is here on time, that we can get started. And so you make your plan A, your plan B, your plan C, and you just adjust as things go along. But yeah, I think that's the most stressful. Harvest is stressful, but it's fun stressful, and you just have fun going through it. You look at different crush pads, and everybody has their own means of stress relief. Some crush pads have basketball nets on them, some have punching bags. We installed a hockey net this year, so we practice our slap shots in between bins.
Hopefully
Seggy's
the style
a Detroit
of the Red Wings.
Seggy's a Detroit Red Wing fan, so I know he's not familiar with what slap shots going into goals look like.
Sure.
Oh man, little Detroit.
Hang on, I'm gonna go and count all the Stanley Cups. I'll be right back. It might take me a while. We can run down the Sharks Cup count real quick.
Yes, we can. Hey, but you know what? We did not win the cup this year.
True, it's true. So we've had the same season. There you go.
Yeah, there we go.
So that's interesting about bottling. I never really considered, a lot of stress coming from that, because you don't really think about that part of the process when you're thinking about the wine. You think, just a machine dumps the wine in the bottle, pops the cork in, call it a day. But that's really interesting.
Well, and that's the thing that I'm trying to figure out right now is I'm scheduled to bottle in May, and I can't postpone it. I bottle in May or I don't. And if we have to continue social distancing, I'm going to have to, okay, guys, you have to wear gloves, you have to wear masks. But I mean, when people are packing, they're elbow to elbow with each other. The guys stacking the cases are taking them from the lady putting them on the sticker. They can't be doing this dance back and forth 6 feet away. And when I go to talk to the bottling line operator, the line is noisy. The only way we can communicate is 6 inches away from each other yelling. So yeah, it's one of those things that we'll just have to do the best we can, and hopefully things start to clear up.
Yeah, God willing, really hope it clears up by the time you need to do that.
Yeah, you think about how many ways we're affected by all this, and then you go in and you think about bottling. I mean, you're right. You're in close quarters with people.
Yeah, I was listening this morning. They were interviewing a vineyard management company, and they're doing what we're doing. So I'm glad we're not alone, is that our guys normally go out there. We have 3 full-time guys working for us, and they normally work in the same row together. And we're like, hey, stay a few rows apart. So instead of working 6 feet away from each other, work 20 feet away from each other. And I know you like to take your breaks and sit down and have lunch together, but maybe not such a good idea now. Of course, then they all ride to and from work together, so does it really matter?
No.
How many visitors do you think you see in your wine through your doors a year, Andy?
The last 2 weeks, none.
Average.
Average, the thing is where we are small and we're very rural, and we are restricted by our use permit. So we maybe see 10 a day at the busiest time of year. I mean, sometimes we are allowed to have some larger parties, but it's never that carried away. So if somebody does come up to visit us, it's not going to be a crowded elbow to elbow at the bar. I mean, Seggy, I think the time you were here, you and your wife were the only people here.
Yeah, I think we outlasted everybody that day.
Well, then there was my crew downstairs. I had a bunch of drinking friends together. We were getting the fire truck ready for a 4th of July parade.
Yeah. The second time I came through, we had a larger group, and I think you guys were in Portugal. I think you in Paula were in Portugal at the time.
Okay.
I don't quite remember, but I think you were out of the country. But I mean, the tasting room was full. It was great. It was nice to see a lot of people in there having a good time.
It is strange right now. I mean, even though it is March, it is almost April, and we usually have at least 2 or 3 parties through here a day. And it was funny. My dad's dog Nikki. We were talking in the tasting room because it's a large room, so we can socially distance. You know, even in our office, we are keeping our distance from each other. And Nikki was just sitting at the door, just looking like, where are all the people? Because she's a yellow lab and she loves taking food from people.
Well, you know, I think it's a new normal for all of us, and thinking about just the idea of tasting rooms, and a tasting room like yours in particular, a lot of your visitors have to be word of mouth, right? It's people, you know, who have come to know and love your wines, telling their friends, hey, listen, when you come to the Valley, you have to go to Andy's place, and this is you know, and they reach out to you and say, hey, so and so introduced me to the wines, you know, I want to come visit. That's typically how it works, I would assume, correct?
A lot of that. And the other fun thing is that there's other wineries up here, and people will come for their second or third visit to that winery, and they've driven by us, and they'll actually ring the gate and we'll say, well, yeah, you know what, we can take you. And I guarantee you 100% of those people become repeat customers, because I think we have a quality of wine and a level of hospitality that's hard to beat.
Absolutely. You know, we kind of have a similar saying with Straight No Chaser, and we see it on the faces of many a gentleman that is dragged to our shows by their wife or girlfriend. We like to say, if we can get you in the seat, we'll hook you and you will enjoy yourself. You know, you might not be a super fan, but you'll 100% absolutely enjoy the show and walk away feeling happy that you came and saw the show, and you'll most likely want to come back again. So it's nice being in that kind of family business type space, and word of mouth type space, because, you know, we're not on TV advertising our shows, and we're not really, you know, in the mainstream whatsoever. So a lot of our fans and the people that come to our shows are word of mouth. So it's another reason why, you know, places like Schweiger really resonate with us, because they're very similar in how they operate and the products and the quality of their products. And that's why we love you, Andy.
Well, thank you guys. And, you know, it's kind of like earned media. It means so much more than paid media. You know, we don't, and I'm sure Straight No Chaser is the same way. You guys don't sponsor posts on Facebook. You have fans who share that, and that organic growth is that much more special. I love what you guys do during your show when you bring the house lights up and take a picture of the audience and encourage everybody to tag themselves. And I've tried ripping that off a couple of times when I've been doing larger winemaker dinners, but I usually get so wound up and caught up in everything I'm doing, I usually forget to take a picture of the crowd.
Well, I'm sure you'll get there. So what are we tasting Wednesday?
Wednesday, we are going to be doing our 2013 Merlot. So another typical blender varietal, but we'll be then culminating that with Friday doing 2013 dedication, where we get to take 2 of the 4 varietals that go into dedication earlier in the week, and we'll explore them there.
Sounds
Beautiful.
great. Yeah, this one's delicious. Can't wait to try some more.
Well, and it's like we have leftover chicken parm, and I texted Paul. I said, "Don't let the kids eat the leftover chicken parm, because I'm bringing home the 14 Cabernet Franc." And I actually, excuse me, we also opened up a bottle of 2005 Cabernet earlier today for a library sale that's going on right now. And I'll give a little plug here. There's a promotion going on right now. You can go to Open the Cellar Door, or Open the Cellar. I think it's openthecellar.com, and you can go to napavintners.org, and there'll be a link, or sorry, napavintners.com. There'll be a link there for sure. But many wineries have released 1 or 2 library wines, and they're only available for the next 48 hours. So you have until end of the day tomorrow to purchase these wines. And Schweiger has a 2005 and a 1995 Cabernet up there.
Ooh.
I saw Spring Mountain Winery has a 79 Cabernet.
Oh, wow.
And there's a lot of fun offerings out there. So if you're into wines with a little age on them, that's definitely worth checking out.
And Andy, I saw the email blast about that went out this morning. I was going to ask you about it. So that was a coordinated effort on behalf of the vintners to just, open up the cellar and encourage people to discover some library wines while they're sitting at home, kind of thing.
Exactly. And it's one of those things because, we're here a valley that thrives on tourism, and the hotels are empty, the restaurants are empty, the wineries are empty. And so just a marketing effort to, okay, we're going to pull something extra special out for our fans of Napa wines to enjoy.
And, we all have been active supporters of wineries in the past, currently, and will be in the future. I know I placed a couple orders today to make sure that, I'm supporting our friends in the industry and encourage everybody to do the same. It's, the hospitality industry and what you guys do in the wine world is so important, and we so appreciate it. That encourage everybody to, if they can, to support this industry while it's really in need.
Well, thank you for doing that. And, for Schweiger fans who aren't familiar with Straight No Chaser, they can find clips of your music at your homepage, which is
SNCmusic.com.
All together now.
Simultaneous.
Google Straight No Chaser, you'll find us.
Yeah.
You can find us all over, all the socials, everywhere. Pretty easy to find.
Fantastic. Well, shall we wrap this up for Monday? And Paula, is there any other last questions, Paula?
Just a couple comments from people that a Facebook fan, Nicole, has been an SNC fan for years and a Schweiger fan since 2015. She says, who knew there was a connection there?
Nice.
A couple of people said, love the wines, be safe and well. Have you ever thought about using screw caps instead of corks? Oh boy.
I want to hear the answer to this.
Well, that might be a good rabbit hole to go down. Actually, maybe I'll do that next week. But the short answer is yes. We use screw caps on our Sauvignon Blanc as well as our Chardonnay. And I am planning on doing them on a red wine project that will be bottled in 2021 to be continued, because now I know that what I'm going to talk about next week.
There you go.
I'm writing it down. Awesome. Well, hey guys, thank you so much for doing this with me.
Yeah,
and I look forward to doing it again on Wednesday.
Sounds
Cheers.
good.
Cheers,
All
guys.
right.
Thanks for having us, Andy.
All right.
Absolutely. Everybody out there, stay safe, stay healthy.
Mm-hmm.
Stay home.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.